I always knew that my job as a private tutor has been important. It's always been about so much more than to help my students with their homework in English or biology. It's always been about increasing their self-esteem and confidence and help them grow as people. Some of them I just get to know on the surface. We greet, ask each other how the day has been and start doing their homework. Then there are those students who get a special place in my heart. Someone you can share everything with and who you feel a special bond to. She was one of them. It was a rainy day and I ran from the bus under my little white umbrella. I was already late. It was one of many things we had in common. We were both time optimists. I rang on her doorbell, and as usual, it took a few minutes before she opened the door with a big smile on her face. We hadn't seen each other for 2 months because of the summer holidays. She gave me a big, warm hug and welcomed me in. We went up to her little room, which was really a closet, but because of the family's economy, they didn't have such a big house so that she could have a room of her own. We sat down together at her desktop. Something felt different today. She wasn't quite herself. I started talking and asked how the summer had been and if she had made some new friends. Then she threw herself into my arms and totally broke down. The tears ran down her bright, small, smooth cheeks. Then she told me that terrible thing. The terrible that no one should ever have to suffer. One evening during the summer when she was out late with an older male friend, he had raped her. She was so wonderfully naive as you are when you're 14 years old. So innocent with your whole life ahead of you. Inside of me my heart broke and I had to struggle not to break down myself. I understood that she now needed someone to be there for her, listening, comforting and understanding. Someone who is strong and makes her understand that he's the one who should suffer, not her. I looked into her big, innocent, beautiful eyes and looked deep into her wounded and suffering soul. I knew about all the bad things that had happened to her during her short lifetime. I knew about her unhappy childhood and when she lost her mom at young age. No one stood up for her and her rights. At that moment I would have done anything to make that horrible summer night disappear. I wished so badly I could put myself in that situation instead and make it undone. At the same time, I knew that what had happened couldn't be undone. I wiped the tears from her cheeks and asked her to listen very carefully to me. I explained to her that it's very important that she understands that it was this guy who did the wrong thing, and that she absolutely must not think that it was her own fault. She can't blame herself for what happened. I told her that she needs to understand her own value. I then explained that it's okay to be mad, sad, and grieve. That she doesn't need to be strong and try to maintain a normal everyday. Let it take its time. It's only the strongest and the bravest who dare to show their vulnerability. I also explained that it's important to not let what happened destroy her completely. There is this guy who should suffer from what he did, not her. I know it may be hard now, but eventually you will move on from this stronger than ever, I said. I explained that I will always be there for her when she needs to talk or needs someone's arms to cry in. Then I stood up, grabbed her hand, and said we had an errand to run at the police station. The bastard should be reported and punished for what he did. This bond between us can't be broken. I will be here. This incident has affected me tremendously. I myself had a difficult period in my life when I was the same age, and I really needed someone there who explained the same things to me. Unfortunately, I hadn't, but have figured everything out myself. She's become like an extra little sister to me, and we're very close. Today, a year later, this girl is the strongest and most wonderful 15-year-old I ever known. Her self-esteem is better than ever, and she's really understood her own value. Having been able to help her achieve that feels fantastic, and sometimes we both wonder where she had been today if we hadn't had that conversation that rainy day a year ago.